Hey guys, welcome to the Simplify Your Life podcast. It's Coach Simona, and I'm glad you decided to tune in. What's up, everyone? In today's podcast episode, we're going to dive deep into a topic that's been bugging me for the past few months, and I wanted to share my experience with you, hoping it will benefit you in some way. Before we jump into my 4 tips on how to stop worrying about death, I want to briefly explain where death anxiety comes from and how it has affected me on a personal level. If you want to skip my death anxiety story, I will leave timestamps below. Death anxiety, also known as thanatophobia, is fear of one's death, the process of dying or losing a loved one. And it's way more common than you think. In fact, I did a little bit of digging and found out that every month over 27,000 people search videos on the topic of thanatophobia on YouTube. The good news is you're not alone in this. The bad news is this podcast episode is going to feel a bit uncomfortable and maybe even unsettling, but I'm happy that you're here, and I want to briefly share my own experience with death. It all began when I turned 18. My boyfriend broke up with me. I had finals coming up, and on top of everything, I wasn't sleeping well. I was smoking, drinking, and not taking good care of myself. My body was trying to send me a message, but I ignored it over and over again. One day, I experienced my first panic attack. It felt as if I was dying. It was actually the scariest thing I've ever experienced in my entire life. Then I realized I was terrified of death. I became so afraid of it that I almost couldn't go out and go to school because I feared that I wouldn't make it back home, because something terrible would eventually happen to me. Fast forward to 1 year later, my panic attacks stopped. I quit smoking, reduced my drinking, and started taking better care of my health. Everything was going great until last year. It's when I found out that my grandpa had cancer, and only a month later he passed away. I'd never lost anyone close to me before, and we had a very beautiful relationship, so it felt as if I had lost my best friend. The funeral caused me to feel all types of feelings, and my death anxiety came back. I didn't have panic attacks this time. It was more like flashes of general anxiety, mixed with hypochondria. I started to imagine what it felt like to die, to get ill, and I had dreams about losing my loved ones. I became a bit obsessed with death. Fortunately, I was so determined to overcome my death anxiety that I decided to create a healthier relationship with death. And now I want to share with you all the tools that I used to overcome my death anxiety. Here are my 4 tips on how to stop worrying about death and start enjoying life more. Number 1. Accept that it's going to happen by meditating on death. This seems like a no-brainer, but it's the first step. You have to begin there and work your way up into the deeper practices. One way to accept death is to realize that you really can't do anything about it. One of the reasons you worry about death is because you are scared of the unknown. Although many of us believe in spirituality or come from religious backgrounds, we still can't be 100% sure what happens after we die. As far as losing your loved ones go, it's almost the same thing. Whether you worry or not, you're not going to predict when it happens, and you can't do anything to stop it. Letting go of resistance and surrendering to the idea that we're all going to die is the only way to stop worrying about death. Whether you worry or not doesn't really matter. You're going to die one day anyway. So here's a practice that can help you develop a healthier relationship with death. There is a technique called imaginal flooding. What it essentially does is it helps you get familiar with phobic thoughts such as fear of dying. If you're scared to do it or you've been diagnosed with a mental illness, please seek professional help before trying this at home. For this exercise, you're going to need 5 minutes. Lie down somewhere you know you won't be disturbed. Take a few deep breaths, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. Now imagine some of your less scary thoughts about death. Keep them as vivid as possible. Feel the fear in your body and notice all the unpleasant sensations. Continue taking slow, deep breaths throughout the whole exercise. If you're finding it hard to stay still with the thoughts, try with less scary thoughts. You can take a break of 5 minutes and do it again for 2 to 3 times, or try again the next day if you feel overwhelmed. The main point is to become familiar with your own intrusive thoughts and accept that at the end of the day, they are just thoughts, not facts. Accepting death as the inevitable end of our human experience is the first step to being at peace with it. Tip number 2. Focus on the things that you can control. When I became obsessed with my health, I started Googling my symptoms around 30 to 50 times per day. Can you imagine the amount of anxiety I induced on myself just because I was afraid of dying? If you're currently struggling with Googling your symptoms too much, check out episode 41, in which I dive deep into that topic. I will leave a link below. Now, instead of obsessing over things that you can't control, such as death, focus on what you can control: your attitude, your outlook on life, and your lifestyle choices. For example, my death anxiety led me to research more about the things that could potentially improve my quality of life. I started incorporating more healthy foods into my diet, started taking vitamin D, began exercising more, and focused on improving my sleep. If you're scared of your own death, I recommend that you focus on the things that you can do to improve your life and potentially live longer. There are many small things that you can do to feel more in control of your own life. And we all have different preferences, so I'm sure you will find something that works for you. Tip number 3. Set a worry time period. Okay, let's say you now meditate on death, live a healthy life, but still find yourself worrying about death. I haven't talked much about death anxiety caused by fear of losing a loved one, so let's focus on it now. I'm going to be honest with you. I fear losing the people I love way more than I fear my own death. My personal belief is that death feels like nothing. It's the same thing that happened before you were born. True, utter nothing. Lack of consciousness, ego, and self. But losing someone you love is a whole different story. You're going to feel a lot of pain. You will constantly miss them, and they will probably leave a hole in your heart that nothing and no one will be able to fill. So a worry time period is something that I highly recommend. I think I heard about this concept first from Dale Carnegie in his book How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. I highly recommend it. A worry time period consists of 5 minutes that you dedicate to guilt-free worrying every single day. I recommend you do it approximately at the same time. And I also advise you not to do it before bedtime, as it can interfere with your sleep. If you have thoughts about death in any part of your day, try to save them for that worry time and make a promise to yourself that you will dedicate time and space for them later. Tip number 4. Live every day like it's your last. One of the best techniques when it comes to overcoming death anxiety is to live every day like it's your last. I learned about this concept a few years ago from Steve Jobs, and I really liked it. Why is it so helpful when it comes to overcoming your death anxiety? And how can you incorporate it into your daily life? When you live every day like it's your last, you practice surrendering to life as it is. You let go of your resistance and live with more integrity, make better choices, and maybe even care more about your relationships. By accepting every day as your last day, it's almost guaranteed that when the time comes, you won't be as afraid as you are now, because you've already surrendered to the possibility to die. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if we die. Everything is temporary. All that matters is we make a difference while we are still here and share that beautiful human experience with others. As for me, I don't think that death anxiety will ever go away. It will pop up from time to time, like an old friend you haven't seen in a while, but avoid grabbing coffee with. And I hope that when my time comes, we will get that coffee and enjoy every last bittersweet drop of it. I hope this episode didn't spook you, but inspired you to live your life more fully. Let me know in the comments below which one of these tips did you like the most and are willing to try for yourself. If you got any value out of it, please like it and share it with someone you care about. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and thank you for listening. I will talk to you in the next one. I love you guys. Bye.